All right, welcome to your forecasting practice. So before we jump into actually looking at all of the different maps, we're going to review what these different symbols mean. So we've got an H, an L, this symbol, that symbol. Okay? All right, so let's go up here. So we're going to start with the blue H. So the blue H means high pressure. So high pressure, that starts with that H, and that reminds us that that is heavy air. So if it's heavy, it's going to sink down. So this gives us another hint. If it's sinking down towards the ground, we have to think, where are clouds? Are clouds up in the sky or are clouds down on the ground? And we know that clouds are up in the sky. So if this is sinking down, then that means that it is clear sky. Okay? We can also look at the color that we have. The color is going to help us to remember that these clear skies, these are blue skies. This blue is also going to remind us that it's cooler. Because when I think about like a freezer, think about that color blue, or the color blue on the faucet that represents cold. Blue is just a color that represents cold. So this kind of like cooler breeze, clear skies, blue skies, all of that stuff, that is considered happy weather. Okay? That also starts with an H. So we can remember H is high pressure, heavy, sinking, clear skies, happy weather. So the other symbol we had was a red L. So the red L represents low pressure. Okay? So low pressure is going to be the opposite of heavy. This is going to be light. So this is also lifting up. So then we can think, where are clouds? Are clouds up in the sky or down on the ground? And they are up in the sky. So this is going to be cloudy weather. Okay? This color is also going to remind us that it is a warm color. So this is a little bit warmer weather. But this warm, cloudy, maybe rainy weather, this is actually lousy weather. So this L for low pressure is also L for lousy. This is not happy weather. Okay, this is kind of just gray and blah versus the high pressure that's clear and blue and sunny. All right, the next couple things that we have on here are those two fronts. So we're going to look at both of those. So we have this blue one with triangles, okay? So this blue guy with triangles, this is a cold front. And again, it's got that blue color to remind us of cold. These also look like icicles. Icicles are made of ice. Ice is cold. The other thing that I think of when I see the cold front symbol is it reminds me of like shark teeth or like monster teeth or some sort of like scary teeth, okay? That scary teeth reminds me of something really important about cold fronts, that these are going to have scary storms with them, okay? So these scary teeth remind me of those big, scary storms, which then is going to be different from a warm front. Okay, so a warm front has these round half circles, and they kind of look like a rising sun. So a rising sun is going to be warm. That's how you can remember it's a warm front. Now these remind me of little teddy bear ears. And teddy bear ears are soft and fuzzy. And so I think about this as being not scary storms, but soft rain. So those are going to be very opposite. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to try to apply all of these things, high pressure, low pressure, cold fronts, and warm fronts, onto this map. So one of the things that I'm going to do first as I'm going to shade in some of the areas for where the warm temperature is and where the cooler temperature is. I'm going to fix my maps real quick before we get started. There we go. Okay. So one thing that's important to remember, or maybe a reminder for us all, is the direction that these fronts are going to move around this letter L. So the direction of a cold front and warm front around a low pressure system is in a counterclockwise motion. So they're going to be moving in this direction. Okay? So this guy is going to be moving this way. This one's going to be moving this way. Because in general, they're moving counterclockwise around the low pressure system. This is important for forecasting because we have to look and say, okay, what will these places experience as the cold front moves? So let's start with the temperature. So when we're thinking about the warm front and the cold front and the direction that they're moving, okay, this warm front right here is moving this way. So it's bringing warm air to this area. It's going to be warm there, which means that currently these places are cold. And then behind it is where it's warm. So then the same thing applies when we look at this cold front. So this cold front, it's moving this way, which means it's bringing cold air over here, but right now this is warm. So then we can add the cold air behind the cold front. Now we can see where it's cold and where it's warm. We can go ahead and answer our questions. So the first thing, what type of pressure system creates fronts? For this one, we're just going to look at the map. And we have an H up here by Boise. Whoops, let's change to a pen. H up here by Boise. And then we have this L. Now, where do we see the fronts? Are the fronts attached to the H or the L? And so they are attached to that low pressure system. So number 2, where would you expect thunderstorms? So remember, thunderstorms, my reminder for these is that these are scary storms. So then I look, and if I go back to my memory triggers, the scary monster teeth went with the storms. So I would expect to see thunderstorms near the cold front. And then if I look along this cold front right here, what is the city that's along there? And we can see that Austin is there. So Austin's probably having thunderstorms. All right, so my next one, which type of cloud could you see if you were in St. Louis? So we have to find St. Louis. St. Louis is right here. So in St. Louis, it's cool air, okay? So cool air is heavier air, right? And so it's sinking down. So we don't have a lot of clouds. We're not going to have big sheets of clouds like stratus. We're not going to have big fluffy clouds like cumulus. But because it's cool or icy, that will be cirrus clouds. Because cirrus clouds are so high up that they are made of ice. And if this is cold air, that's where we're going to have those cirrus. Cirrus also lets us know a change is coming, and that change is going to be the change into our warm weather. All right, so number 4, what would be our forecast for Atlanta? So we'll go find Atlanta on the map. So Atlanta is currently in the blue air. So what would the forecast be for Atlanta? So currently it's cool. But forecast means what's going to happen. Okay? So as a warm front passes, if we go back to our hints up here, remember these things that look like teddy bear ears? This is soft rain. So it's going to be cool, and then there will be soft rain. And remember, this isn't a big scary storm, so this soft rain might last for a day. It could be a long period of rain. And then after that, we're going to go into the warm front. So it's going to be warm. Warm air lifts up, and when it lifts up, then we will get clouds, because clouds are up in the air. Our next one, what is our current weather like in Austin? So we'll go find Austin. Here's Austin. So Austin's right along that cold front, and that cold front has those scary teeth. So this would be that's not the weather, obviously, but the scary teeth reminds me of storms. Now there's two things we have to think about. This storm could be a thunderstorm, but in Minnesota, if we get a thunderstorm in the winter, we don't call it a thunderstorm. We call it a blizzard. So because this is down in Texas, it's probably not a blizzard. It's probably a thunderstorm, which we sometimes abbreviate as T-storm. But if we had this cold front up in Minnesota and it was December, then we'd probably say this storm was a blizzard. All right, and then our last question that is on here is about Boise. So Boise is over here with that H for high pressure. So if we go back up to our key up here, our H, high pressure, is heavy air sinking down. Clouds form up in the sky, so if everything's sinking down, we're gonna have clear skies. So then what would the sky look like in Boise? It would be clear. And that's happy weather. That's where we look outside, blue, clear skies, and we're ready to go outside and have some fun. All right, so we're gonna move on to our next one. I'm gonna fix my maps again. Drag this guy down further. Okay. So again, we wanna just look at our map, get ourselves familiar with it. We have high pressure right here. We have low pressure right here. As a reminder, this is moving counterclockwise, okay, like this. So the warm front is going to be moving up. Cold front's going to be moving down in this direction. Let's go ahead and highlight where that warm air is and where the cold air is. So remember, behind the warm front, because we look at where it's moving, so behind the warm front is where it's warm, but in front of it is where it's going to be cold or cooler. And then so the same thing, behind your cold front, it's a cold front, so it's bringing cold air. It's cool, but in front of it, it's warm. And you'll notice that the cool all kind of matches up on one side and the red on the other. We don't have it mixed together, which is what it should look like. We should see it consistently blue and consistently red. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our question. So the first one says, where would you expect thunderstorms? So remember, thunderstorms, those are those big scary storms, okay? Scary storms remind me of scary teeth, okay? And that scary teeth brings me up to this symbol right here, my cold front. So now I have to look and who's right along there. And so San Diego is probably experiencing those thunderstorms. I'm sorry I did not capitalize that. That was not good English grammar on my part. Okay, second question. Which city would be experiencing warmer temperatures? So Cheyenne or Denver? So if we go find Cheyenne and Denver, okay? Here's Cheyenne, here's Denver. We just have to look. Which one of those is in the warmer color? And red is our warmer color. Which one's behind the warm front? And so that would be Denver. Next question is very similar. Which city would be experiencing colder temperatures? Los Angeles or San Diego? So then if we go over here and we look at Los Angeles and San Diego, here's Los Angeles, here's San Diego. Which one of those is in the cooler color or behind the cold front? We can see Los Angeles is going to be having colder weather or colder temps. Our next one, what would the sky look like in Minneapolis and Chicago? So if we find Minneapolis and Chicago, they're by that high pressure system. Remember, high pressure is heavy. Heavy is sinking down. Do we have clouds down on the ground or up in the sky? We have clouds up in the sky. So if this is down, that means it's going to be clear. We can also just remember that H is happy weather, and that's clear blue skies. All right, and then our last question on here, what would the weather forecast be for Cheyenne? So remember, forecast is what's going to be coming. So if we look currently, Cheyenne is cool. Because here's Cheyenne up here. It's in the blue. It's going to experience a warm front coming though. So it's cool. And then it's those soft teddy bear ears, or those rising sun. So soft teddy bear ears reminds me of soft rain. And this is steady. So again, it could be something that's like it rains for a day. We've had some of those recently. When I recorded this on like March 28th, it just rained for like a whole day. So that was probably a warm front that we were at because we had steady rain. So after that soft, steady rain, then it's going to get warm. Now remember, warm air is lifting up. And if it's lifting up, what's up in the sky? Clouds. So it's going to be warm and cloudy. All right, so we'll go on to our last map. Oops, our last map has a few things going on it. So we got to look at all of our stuff. So we have 2 low pressure systems, okay? And then we have 1 high pressure system. The low pressure systems have fronts by them, the cold fronts and the warm fronts. So let's go ahead and highlight our different areas for where it's warm, where it's cold, after we add the direction for where the fronts are moving. So if we remember, our fronts move in a counterclockwise motion, okay? So this front's moving this way, this one's moving this way. So we go in a counterclockwise motion, this one's moving this way, this one's moving this way. All right, so now we can go ahead and highlight where it's warm and where it's cold. So we'll start with the warm front that's over here by Boise. It's always behind the warm front, it's warm because we're bringing in the warm weather. So the other side will be cold. So then behind the cold front, it's bringing in cold, but in front of it, it's warm. And look, we have all of our warm together, and then our cold's on the other side. And that's how it should be. So let's go over here to New York. So we've got warm behind the warm front, cold in front, cold behind the cold front, and warm in front. And again, our warms are all together, and our cold is on the other side, which is how it should be. So our first question is, what is the current weather probably like in New York City? So if we find New York City, what is it probably like? Well, it's in that blue area, so it's probably cool. We know that cold, ice, so we can think about those cirrus clouds that are really high up and made of ice. So it's cool weather with cirrus. But that's going to change because we know that we have that warm front moving through. We might have, if we're real close to that warm front, so we could have some steady rain. Oops. And our next question says, which direction is the cold front near Portland traveling? So here's Portland. Now, we could, just like draw an arrow and say, it's moving that way. But it's also important to use that compass rose and understand the directions. So if we say we've got north, south, east, and west, and then we draw that arrow in here going this way, it's in between the S and the E. So we would say that the direction is southeast. All right, and then our last question here says, what is the extended forecast for Boise? So extended doesn't just mean what is today and tomorrow. It could mean what's it going to experience over the week. So when we're thinking about Boise, let's go find Boise. Boise's right here. Boise is in warm air, but we have to look and go, oh, hey, wow. There is this whole cold front that's probably going to move right through Boise. So we have to look over time, what will Boise experience? So let's just start with right now. Now, what's happening for Boise? Right now, it's warm. Warm air lifts up. What's up in the sky? Clouds. So it's warm and cloudy. A little bit later, we're going to have that cold front move through. So when we get a cold front, we're probably first going to experience a storm. Because remember, it's those scary teeth. Scary teeth, scary storm. So Boise will get that storm. And then after, it'll get cool. Now, cool air, remember, is heavy. So it's sinking down. Do we have clouds down on the ground? No. So it's going to be cooler and clear after the storm passes. And that's going to be extended because we're looking over an extended or a longer amount of time. All right. So go ahead, find the weather forecasting Google form, complete that. You can come back to this and fast forward through it as you need to find hints about things or to help you complete that weather forecasting assignment. Best of luck, and as always, ask your teachers for help. We are here to help you.